All right, ready? 3, 2. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Underwater FlyZone podcast. This is episode 3 of season 3, and today I'm here with my brother, Adam Harbor. If you don't know this man, you know a work that he did for me, because this is the dude that got me the Clever Fools interview, bro. That was insane.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
To this point in the Underwater FlyZone career, in my opinion, the Clever Fools interview was the biggest milestone that we've had. And it's really all credit to this man. Came walking into the house one day wearing a Clever Fools jacket, and next thing you know, had the dude on my podcast. So I just want to thank you for that. Give you all the credit, bro. All the credit.
For sure. Whenever I joined SIGEP, that's kind of how I met Foster. And I've known Alex from CF since probably like 2016, 2017, around when he started it. And I've, pretty much bought one thing from every drop, it feels like. So I have so much stuff, and like what my girlfriend always says, like, out of like the 7-day week, probably 5 out of those 7 days I'm wearing something Clever Fools.
I mean, look at us right now. This is a Clever Fools. That's an old school Clever Fools.
Neon, yeah. This is from 2020 winter, I think. But
throwback.
Wearing all this stuff, you can see Foster. I'm like, you kind of see us too. I'm like, yeah, Foster's a Clever Fools guy.
Yeah, I mean, the brand just kind of sucks you in once you really get to know the name of it and really get to meet Alex. It's just kind of like you feel a part of it almost. Yeah. So I just love it, dude.
And it's Kansas City based, so you got to support that.
Gotta rep KC, man. Gotta rep KC. But yeah, that's not what we're talking about today. We just want to shout it out. But today we're talking about Adam's story. Like every guest coming on this season, going to be telling their deepest story, their truest underwater fly zone, the thoughts, the stories that no one sees, nobody knows, until you really open up and let it out. So I'm going to just go back to, SIGEP, Adam is in SIGEP with me, our fraternity, and it was a recruitment event. I'm pretty sure I was the first SIGEP you talked to, at least at the event. This dude walks up to me, and I have like a sixth sense, kind of. Like, I could just tell when I vibe with somebody, like, without even really saying much. I could just tell I vibe with this dude. And then I asked you about a tattoo. A tattoo on your arm.
Yeah. So I'll show it. It's a tornado tattoo. Kind of ties into our story. So I'll kind of just go off of that. So this is a tornado tattoo. I got it last year. I had a night in Charlotte, didn't have anything else to do, so I looked up tattoo shops, pulled out some money, and got this tattoo, which it was my first one, and it was kind of like a sketchy situation. It was like 9 o'clock when I was looking, and for some reason all the tattoo shops in Charlotte closed at 9. Besides this one, and I had, first time in the city, I had never knew anything about the city, so I just Googled the address, called them, like, hey, you guys accepting walk-ins? They're like, yeah. So I take an Uber, we start driving out of Charlotte to this sketchy brick building, and they drop me off, and it's this tiny little shop, and there's probably 10 people in there, and I'm oh my god, I was like, am I really about to do this? I sat in there, waited about an hour, so it's 11:30 at night by this time.
Jeez, dude.
And they get me with the guy, and he's an apprentice, so my first tattoo is by an apprentice who he's an artist, but this is him just starting tattooing, so it was only $65 for this tattoo. And I got it because this is going to go into my dad. My dad passed away in 2011, and I remember growing up, he always said, if he was going to get a tattoo, it would be a tornado. And, I was kind of young, so I still don't really know why it would be a tornado. I think it's just how he liked how it looked, so it was a way to commemorate
tornadoes
him.
Are dope. Tornadoes are dope.
And I always wanted the idea. I was like, do I want to go realistic? And this is kind of just one of those things you would scratch in your notebook at school, something just back and forth. And that's what I basically told the artist. So that kind of ties in to my story now. 2011, I'm 9 years old. Just in school, normal day. My dad was a granite worker. He etched designs and cut granite for companies and special orders. So he started his work day early in the morning, and then he'd get home about I'd say 2 or 3, 4 at the latest. And he'd always have dinner cooking for us. So when I got out of school, we'd have a meal and then just be able to hang out the rest of the night. Well, that night, I get home from school, normal time. No one, my dad wasn't home yet, and so I was like, all right, he might be fishing or something that he usually does. But it'd be weird for the weekday, so I was like, all right, whatever. And I'm young, so I'm kind of naive. Me and my 2 sisters just go about our business. And then we're all in our PJs, like getting ready to go to bed, and we hear a knock at the door. My mom like instantly tells us all kind of to go downstairs. And that was like, it was like weird. My Wii was downstairs though, so I was playing like Wii Sports. So I like wasn't thinking anything of it. And then my mom tells us all to come back upstairs, and my grandma and grandpa are there, which is like kind of weird. And I think I kind of like sensed it then. And then I saw the sheriff's department. And my dad had passed away. He had this Ford Ranger, like a truck that we did everything in. We went fishing and he drove it into a pond or a lake. His favorite fishing spot, he had drove it into there, and then he committed suicide right by that place. Still have no idea why he did it. I understand, like, shit's tough and stuff, so but for me, I still haven't gotten the strength to like actually ask my mom why he did it. And I think a big part of me like being scared to ask her why is because I don't know if she has an answer, and I don't know if I really want the answer, because like it kind of goes back and like, what if it was like because he couldn't handle the stress of me, and like I just don't want to put that on myself because I know that's not good for me. And so like maybe later on in my life, like I can be at grasp with understanding why he did it, but for right now, I kind of just like, I'm okay with it happening. I've like gotten to the point where I'm okay talking about it without like, getting shaky or crying. And I think that's something like I take a lot of pride in with something like this, because me being able to just talk about it, I don't want to say casually because death isn't like a casual thing, but like being able to share my feelings with people about it and talk about the situation without kind of like folding under this pressure of like, yeah, my dad passed away, feel bad for me, guys. Like I don't want to be that person, because I know that's not going to help anyone else that's going through the situation. And then with that, like my dad passing away, I was 9 years old, and I want to say within like a year or two, one of my best friends that I grew up with, her dad passed away also. And being like 9 years old, 10 years old, like I feel like parents don't really have a grasp on like how to cope and like
I mean, who does?
Yeah,
for real.
like
that's like the craziest thing ever.
How to like mourn with your kid, especially when it's a parent, because now it's that single mom, that single dad that are like having to raise this kid. And so when her dad passed away, I remember her mom, my mom, and like some of our like our friends, family members, like kind of like asking me to reach out with her, because I had just kind of gone through it and just wanted to talk to her. And so like we were all hanging out at my friend's house, jumping on the trampoline, and like everyone kind of left besides me and her. And one thing I've always taken from it is like getting over something like this, no matter if it's a death, something like that's really difficult in your life, you just have to give it time. And that's what I told her. It's kind of weird, like thinking like as a 10-year-old, I'm talking to another 10-year-old and
You're giving advice.
Be like, hey, death sucks, but like it just takes time to get better. And I know it's kind of weird for me, because I think I just realized as soon as it happened that I was gonna have to grow up, because my household, it was me, my dad, my mom, and then my two half sisters. And so a house full of girls, and like my dad not being there, I kind of felt like, well, man, I'm gonna have to step up and like kind of fill that spot, even though I was only 10 years old. So like talking to her, I was just like, yeah, it sucks. It's gonna like take time, because for me, it was like I just said, it was different. I felt like I had to fill this void. So like I feel like the first month for me was my hardest, kind of like because I didn't really understand. But after that first month, I won't say I understood like it, but I definitely just like got better and was like, I need to like just keep moving forward, and because just sitting on it and sulking isn't going to do anything. And it's kind of weird, like I keep saying it's kind of weird, but thinking of a 10-year-old me, like,
dude, it's crazy. I mean, at 10 years old, you're giving advice that therapists get trained to give. Like, that blows my mind. And I knew the story, obviously, because, I've heard it before, but just hearing it in the raw form like that really just hits deep. And I think back to that first time when I met you and you showed me the tattoo, that was like our first conversation. You told me that. And that just really is what defines you. And I think that is something to be in a way, it's something to be proud of, to say that this happened to me, but look at me now. Like you could have let it defeat you. I know a lot of people that have somewhat similar situations, you know, may not have a dad in their life, may have gone through something, even something like I went through. You know, people have gone through stuff and let it defeat them. They've gotten into, you know, drugs or just not taking care of themselves and have gone down a very bad path. But for you to have gone through this at such a young age, and I'm not even kidding, I know you as one of the most accountable, hardworking dudes I know. Like, that's just
thank you.
It's unreal. I mean, it's unreal. And also something very special was you hit me up and we're like, well, I kind of hit you up, but when I hit you up to be on the podcast, you were all in. You were like, bro, like I'm so down. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's a really good platform. The way you like hold this as like kind of just overcoming everything and like setting up like and like letting people talk about like stuff they've been through. It's a really good way because I haven't been in therapy since I was that little kid. Like I had a therapist, like a child therapist that I went to, and then after that it was like I was just kind of on my own. Like I didn't really want to go to a therapist because especially like at a young age, like all we were doing was like she would come to my school once a week and she was the nicest lady, and I'd go up to the counselor's office, we'd kind of talk, and then she was an Asian lady and we'd do origami and talk like while we were making origami. So it was always fun like going back to class and be like, cool. Yeah guys, got out of class for an hour, look what I made, and then just like a little paper pigeon. But like I understand like it's helping deal with your feelings, but at that young of an age I felt like it probably didn't benefit me like people thought it would, but you have to like at least try. And then with that, I feel like I should have tried more, and I want to like stress this a lot because if you are having problems, reach out to someone, like talk to someone, even if it's your best friend, like let them know what you're going through, because for the longest time, and I still do this, I'll say, but I just bottle up my feelings because I know I can suppress them, and I know they're not like, they haven't gotten to the point where they're like big enough to where it affects me. I might like have outbreaks here, but this is just me. I want like people to reach out because I don't want people to have to deal like with like the thought of like them having to sit down and just hunker it in because I feel like they're not embarrassing themselves, but putting their stuff onto others. That was my biggest thing. Was I felt like if I talked to someone about it, I would be putting it onto someone else, and I don't want anyone to think that, because like I'd say until the age of like 14, for some reason, because that happened to me at such a young age, until like 14 or 15 when I like started like actually maturing, I thought life went, yeah, I'm gonna marry someone, we're gonna have kids, and then I'm just gonna kill myself. Like that was just kind of etched into my brain that that's how life is.
Because that was your perception of the world.
Yeah, that was my experience. Like I just knew like, hey, I'm gonna have a happy family, and then one day I'm just gonna be like, no, I don't want this anymore. Like I thought that's how life went for everyone because I didn't realize that. And so I just like want people to know, like, don't be scared to reach out to someone. Mental health is like a really important thing, and I don't think I've realized it as much as I have in college, even though I've been here for like just almost a year now. Mental health, like everyone deals with it, and I don't know if a lot of people understand how to deal with it, but I want to say the first step is definitely like reaching out for help or just to talk, because even doing this podcast, like I'm gonna probably spill some stuff that like I've been holding in for a long time, because like it gives me the opportunity to actually have a conversation with someone.
And I think in the last episode, in episode 2, I talked about having the ability to take your problems upon yourself and really like handling them yourself. But part of doing that, part of handling it yourself, is having the ability to reach out to somebody. Like, don't think, toughening up and powering through it means doing it all yourself. No, it means having the strength to reach out, having the strength to go get help. Don't just sit there and keep it all in, because it's just gonna sit inside of you and ruin your life, to be honest. You got to be able to let it out, and you got to be able to accept and grow. If you can't accept and grow, you're gonna, I know a lot of people that are in a bad spot right now, and it's simply because they're trying to make excuses for their problems. They're trying to hide their problems. I was doing the same thing my junior year. I mean, after my situation with my best friend dying the same way, I mean, I was not wanting to talk to anybody about it. I was not wanting to. I just didn't want it to be real, so I just would act like it wasn't. That's not doing anything. You got to accept the truth, accept the facts. Don't make excuses. Don't try to justify it in your own way. And once you're able to do that, you will grow from it, and you will be doing something like this, like realizing that, man, my story, I can make a difference right now. So I don't know, it's just amazing, man.
If you are reaching out to your friends or wanting to talk and they're not willing or like show disinterest when you are talking to them and not actively listening to you, I would, rethink about if you really want to have them as a friend. Because if I'm sitting here and I'm talking to Foster, like, yeah, my dad passed away, and he was just like, oh yeah, that's tough. I'm sorry. Like, I don't want to have someone around me that if I do have a problem, or if it's just something like reaching out and I know he's like that, I don't want them in my friend group, because something like that, like, what if I was really in a bad spot and he's just like uninterested, and that pushes me over the edge. And so like that doesn't only go to like the giving out end to where like you're talking to someone and one of your friends, it's on the receiving end too. If someone comes to you and is desperately like wanting to share something, or like they're going through something, listen actively. Don't just sit there and like make comments here and there, because it could be really important to that person. And like through personal experience, being a listening ear is way more important than being like a talking mouth. Like if you are able to like just sit and actively listen and hold a conversation and go back and forth with someone, especially when it comes to mental health and their mental health or yours, that's really important. It's a really like good characteristic I think everyone should try to have.
Exactly. And our boy Archie Carriage said it best. Try to listen to understand. Don't listen to respond. Don't be listening, sitting there like, how can I respond to this? Just try to listen to understand what they're saying, and maybe you will not know how to respond. So it's okay to be like, I don't even know what to say, like, but like, I mean, I guess saying I'm sorry for you in a way, like, as long as
just having that empathy with the person. You don't always have to have an answer, because
most of the time you're not gonna have an answer. Like, honestly, I thought our experiences were similar, which the only similarity with our experiences is the way they died. Like, it's the craziest thing. Like, I was just sitting here like, gosh, how am I even gonna keep going? I don't even know what to say right now. But like, I don't know, just finding ways to try to empathy. Empathy is the number one. Empathize. I don't even know I don't know how to say the word, but listen with empathy and try to just really like feel them. Don't be trying to give your own, like, that sucks, I'm going through this. Like, no, like, just listen and let them have their time to. I don't know. And that's a big thing.
And I think another, like, with the mental health, and I'm gonna go back to suicide. I know it's like men make up close to 2/3 of the worldwide like suicides. That's like as of 2015. I was reading earlier. So it could be different now. But I know suicide is like a major thing with men's mental health. And I think like a strong thing for me, because like when you're in those dark spots, and how I was with just bottling it in, you kind of like, there's just like certain points where you snap and you're just like, you feel like you have no control over your body and like what your actions and how you feel. And I think like a big part of like expressing how your emotions are is like finding ways to occupy your time. A big thing for me is like when obviously in high school I played sports. I played 3 sports. So that filled literally all my time. And then like COVID year happened, because I was a senior like right when COVID kicked off. My junior year of lacrosse, which was my like favorite sport.
Lacrosse is lit.
It was my favorite sport, like the best sport. I was the best, like out of all the sports I played, that was like my top sport.
That's so dope.
My junior year, the second game of the season, I tore my ACL. That sucked, because what I really dedicated lacrosse to was my dad, because he always had me playing baseball when I grew up, and I found like lacrosse, and I was like, oh, I don't want to play baseball, but I kind of took lacrosse, and that was like my thing. I would before every game, I would go to the left like hash mark, the box mark, do my own stretches on my own time, kind of like just, it was like a time for me to stretch on my own and be away from everyone on the team, and like kind of like talk to my dad and be like, hey, kind of catch up with them. So like I didn't have that anymore. And then my senior year, I was about to be ready to play, and then they canceled everything because of COVID. So it was like damn, like sports are over for me, because I wasn't gonna play in college. So I was like, I don't know what to do.
Exactly.
And then ended up joining the military. I'm in the National Guard, and so that kind of is something that like fills my space. But then I finally get to college. I joined SIG up, and it's like something that I'm really proud in. or take pride in, because it's something that like we're able to. It's a group of guys where we can all hang out, but also all better each other
and get stuff done. Like, I don't think people realize like how much work truly goes into this stuff.
Yeah,
like I'm president of SIGF, and I'm telling you, bro, like it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work balancing this stuff. So it's really something to take pride in for sure.
And so like I just want to say, like, if you're struggling like mentally or anything like that, just find something to do, whether that's a walk. I saw a Hank Green TikTok the other day. He was like, my daily mental health walk, and he's like, I hate it, but it works. And so like, even if something that you don't like doing, something as simple as going out for a walk like once a day could be something that like dramatically changes your like mental state, because it either puts you on a consistent basis, or it's like something that just takes you away from everything that could be like that makes you feel like you're getting sucked in, and gives you like a break from that, and it gives you like a way to just like find your own space, do your own thing, and then like kind of reset yourself, and then go back into whatever needs to be done or whatever you're doing for that day, that week, that month, or whatever. But it's always good to like just have stuff that you can just go out and do.
That's facts. I mean, I remember back when I was going through my hard time, I'd go on a bike ride every single day. Like, not even kidding, I went every day, 365 days out of the year. I went every day for like 2 years, maybe 3 years straight, just playing. I said this on the last episode, but Wii Sports baseball, just little stuff like that, man. That can make a huge difference, and it's so important to just be able to do stuff like that. And another thing with men's mental health, a big issue with men is we want to be tough, you know?
Yeah.
We don't want to let anyone know that we're sad. Like, what? We're dudes. But I'm telling you right now, if you want to be tough, it's way more tough to be able to show emotion as a man than it is to sit there and try to bottle it all up. Because if you're bottling it up, no one's seeing that. You know, that's all internal. No one's viewing you as a tough guy. But if you're really like saying like, hey, I'm going through something and I'm struggling, like I need help, I think that takes way more courage, way more strength than to sit there and bottle it up. So that's something big I just really want to make a point of. Like, don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid what people will view you or whatever. Like, man, if you are, I'm telling you my view on it, if you are willing to reach out and show that you're going through something, I view you as so much stronger of a person than someone to sit there and, you know, just bottle it all up. And also, that's very scary to bottle it all up. I mean, that's very scary.
And you have to kind of like, you finally like, I don't know how to explain it, but you get to a point where like, you just have to like embrace whatever you're going through and not care about what other people think, because if you keep caring about what other people think or view you as, you're never going to improve yourself or actually be your true self. Like, if I like wanted to fit in doing something or whatever, like it's just not who I am, and I'm trying to fit into a group, that's not going to be good for me. Like, you just have to like just ignore everything if you want to better yourself and be who you truly are, and kind of just go off of your own self.
I think it's called the law of attraction. Like, you are going to attract what you put out. If you put out a fake version of yourself, there's always going to be people that love you. You're going to be loved for a fake version of yourself. It's common sense, for real. But if you put out your true self, if you put out who you truly are, make actions on who you truly are, you're going to be loved for who you truly are. I mean, it sounds like common sense just saying that, but it's so true. And it's one thing to talk about it, but it's another thing to do it. I think that's something that we both have lived by. And honestly, most of the people around me have lived by. Just be your true self, and you will be loved for your true self. Don't be trying to fit in. Don't be trying to hide who you are. I did that for real, all of high school. I mean, my boy T Gray went to high school with me. He's the one helping us record. So shout out Tie Dye.
Shout out Tie Dye. Go stream.
But this dude didn't know me in high school, and you know why? It's because I was a shy kid. I didn't want to put myself out there. I didn't want to embrace who I truly was. I was afraid that I'd be judged for who I am. And when I got to college, I was like, screw that, bro. Like, this is my life. This is my one life. Am I really gonna live in a shell my whole life? So just please, like, take my word for it. Like, come out of your shell if that's you, or even if you're out of your shell but you're feeling like you're just not living the real you, like, you could change that right now. Like, after you're done watching this, like, literally just live your life your way, because this is your life. Don't try to be somebody you're not. I said this almost exactly, but it makes no sense to me. I said that in the Lil Got Fast episode, but that's basically said the same thing.
That's like those stupid posters. I don't know. I always saw them in my elementary school. It's like, in 50 years, no one will care what jeans you're wearing, what shoes. It's like the same thing. Like, they tried to instill that to us as like little kids. Like, be yourself. It doesn't matter what everyone else thinks because it's you. Like, you're gonna grow up being you. You're gonna get old being you.
Literally.
You're the only thing in this world that like won't change. It's you and you only, and you have yourself. So don't let that self that you have stray to try to fit in with other people, because that's ultimately not important. It's what you are doing, who you want to be, and how you want to be, like, present yourself to the world.
Yeah, and there's gonna be highs and lows regardless. Life will always even itself out. So if, like we talked about, I mean, I just keep referring back to old episodes, but if you're at the bottom right now, you're gonna be on the come up eventually. Life will even itself out, and just as the opposite, if you're up on the top, you're gonna be coming down eventually. It doesn't matter if you're rich, poor, yourself, not yourself. You're gonna be having good times and bad times. So I just am saying, like, be your true self, because why not? You're literally missing out on so much living a lie. Oh, there goes the timer. All right, we'll just time out real quick.
So we're gonna switch cameras.
Yeah, bro. Switch the camera. All right, y'all, we back. We had to switch cameras up because my camera has a recording limit. But anyways, so hopping back into us here, kind of changing topics a little bit. I feel like for me, when the whole Kyle situation happened, you know, a switch flipped in my mind. I kind of woke up. Felt like I was living life, you know, not really knowing some of the stuff we're talking about right here, not really knowing the importance of being yourself. I always saw the posters on the wall in class, be yourself, all that, you know, stuff, and just read it, and I was like, yeah, cool. But, like, it was when Kyle passed away when I was, like, switch flipped, and I'm like, bro, life is so important. Like, I just feel like people may be watching this and maybe thinking, like, man, I never dealt with any of this stuff. Like, these dudes, are, like, they just feel like they can't relate. Bro, that's okay. I think when you listen to a story like this, you got to be able to implement it into your own life. I don't want anybody listening to have what we're talking about right here go over your head. Like, you don't have to have a tragic situation be what flips that switch. You know, you can start right now, and that's a big thing for me. That's a big thing.
That, like, we as like a chapter kind of got together and we were talking about, like, kind of our family, like, stuff like this, how me and Foster are talking, and like,
basically
I prefaced it, and I was like, I told the group that I was with, I told the guys, like, you don't have to have something traumatizing to, like, share, like, your story, because whatever happened to you growing up, whatever you went through, whatever you did as a child, that's what shaped you to who you are now. And you shouldn't, like, feel deserted because, or not want to listen because you didn't have something traumatizing, or you did have something traumatizing and you're listening to someone that didn't, and you're like, oh, they're snotty, they didn't have to deal with anything in their life. Like, I think you just have to finally, like, realize in life, like, there's no reason to kind of, like, discriminate or go away from people that aren't like you, because whatever you do in life, you're gonna have people around you that aren't like you, and those people are, like, gonna be the ones that open your eyes to the world and make you realize, like, oh, what I'm doing is so small compared to the grand scheme of things. You shouldn't, like, push away these other ideas or other people just because they're different from you. I feel like that's what I've learned, especially in college, because, like, where I grew up in Fort Osage, that area is, like, kind of like country, kind of hick, so it's like coming here is a completely different mindset. There's a lot of people that have different, like, views from, like, when I grew up and what I saw growing up, and I've, like, come to, like, get to know a lot of people that see things a lot different than me, and those are, like, some of my best friends. And you kind of just have to, like, be willing to see these other sides of the world, the other sides of, like, people's stories, to kind of, like, actually understand what life is all about. And that's, like, that's one of my favorite things to do, is getting to know people, because that expands your knowledge about the world and what's happening and everything like that, what other people went through, and it gives you a deeper connection with them.
Our differences are what makes life fun, for real. If everyone was the same, that'd be lame, bro.
Some iRobot stuff.
Yeah, that'd be so lame. I think a big thing to note as well is there is something you can learn from every single person. Every single person has had a different experience growing up, has been raised a different way. has a different viewpoint than you. You know, there's just something unique about everybody. Every person on this world, even I'd look at like 2-year-old babies and I'm like, there's something you could learn from even them.
Yeah.
You know, just their innocence, their happiness of the world. I mean, there's something you could take from everybody. So really being able to realize that and really being able to have an open mind with everybody that you meet is so important. So important about life. I mean, I come here, I grew up in suburbia, you may call it, you know, suburban towns, a bunch of people with kind of similar ideals, you know, go to college, this is how you'll be successful, all that. And just taking time to really question the norms of what I knew as the norms has been big for me. And for you, it's the opposite. So I came here and it was a smaller town. You came here and it was a bigger town?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say so. I'm like on the edge, like literally of like rural area and like suburban.
Like
so it was like
Yeah.
it was like a mixture of like kind of both at my school, but like everyone I feel like kind of had the same ideals. Like it was a majority of like same ideals. So like coming here, it's technically smaller than my town, but it's like 7 times bigger than my high school was. And there's definitely a lot more like differing opinions, and like I really appreciate that, because like after a while you get tired of like the same people saying the same stuff, hearing the same thing, and like maybe I don't want to think like that anymore. And so this is I feel like college, or like just finally moving out from where you grew up, is like something like amazing that can happen to you, because you get the opportunity to see the world in a different light.
And it makes you uncomfortable, you know, hearing differences. But the thing about being uncomfortable is that's where true growth occurs.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of a beautiful thing. This past week, I went and taught at East High School. If y'all know where that is, it's in KC. When I say it's in KC, I mean, you know, there was a kid in my class. I had 51 students, and there was one American-born student. 50 people from different countries. I met 2 kids that just moved to KC from Africa last week. Couldn't even speak English. But the thing about that is, it's like, that's very uncomfortable. I don't even know I can't even speak to these people, like, can't speak English to these people. But what I noticed was, we're all so much more alike than we are unalike. Mm-hmm. I look at these kids, and we were playing dodgeball. This school didn't have a lot of money, didn't have a lot of equipment. They had one dodgeball. So it was more like a game of goggle ball, where you pick it up, just try to hit people. And this kid got like everybody out. He was in the final 3 and got out. And so he was like kind of sad, because he just carried and then lost. So he was sitting there over on the side, and I went up to him, and I like looked at him. He looked up at me, and he like looked away, because he didn't want to play again, because he was just kind of done with it. But then he looked back up at me, and I was still looking at him, and I smiled. He smiled back at me. I picked him up, and he hopped back in the next game. Same thing happened. He lost. And he got like everybody out. But it was just like, I was like, dang, dude, like, just because I can't speak to him, you know, we're that much different. Just that smile. When he smiled back at me, I was like, there's some nonverbal communication here. Like, that is just, I don't know, it's just something beautiful. It's so important to just value everybody. Valuing people is something that in today's world seems like it's kind of been on the you know, it's kind of going out the window. A lot of people, they'll hear one little opinion differs, and they are like, all right, I hate you now. Like, literally, people are willing to throw people out just like that. But
instead of like actually talking or like discussing that, and then just moving like past that. Like a big thing, sorry Kinsey, me and my girlfriend have a lot of differing like opinions on stuff. We might like argue about it, or we discuss it and then just drop it and move on. Like, it's the next thing. Like, I know what she believes, she knows what I believe, and like we have that mutual understanding. I don't think anyone should lose someone or discredit someone because you have differing opinions. Like we've been talking about, everyone grows up somewhere else, somewhere different. They experience different things, but we're still human in the end. We're all humans. We're all trying to find that like goal in life of being happy and just being successful and being able to live a life to where like you just are doing what you love, and like you can come home or go wherever after work or do whatever, and you're just happy with your life. And I feel like even with differences, people can still accomplish that in life, and differences shouldn't be something that shuts people out of your life.
There's a lot of little problems as well in this world, and I feel like that's another thing I was referring to when I kind of woke up, because those little problems kind of aren't really a big deal to me anymore. I bet you can relate. And I think that's kind of why when I first met you, and before you even told me the tattoo story, I kind of was like, I think this dude might be one of my homies for a long time. And it's just because you could just kind of tell what what people value. I could tell you were the type of dude that's not going to get pressed over one little issue. Like, dude,
Yeah,
I think once you realize how fragile life is and how quickly everything can change, you stop worrying about who he voted for. You stop worrying about, I can't even really think of other, just little problems that don't really matter. And you start thinking about, dang, like in 10 minutes, my whole life could change. Like literally, I think about that all the time. That's why you just got to take every moment and make the most out of each moment and really just live in the moment, appreciate the moment.
And that's like going back to like growing and like getting like better as a person, like understanding that like not every fight is worth fighting.
No, most are not. Most are not.
Like if something like is really aggravating you, but it's like not something monumental or anything like that, like it's always good to like step back if you need to and take a second, like realizing why you're mad or why you're upset with whatever's going on. Taking that step back has been a big thing, especially for me, because if I'm mad about something, I like it like clicks in me like, oh, I'm set on being mad. And I've kind of gotten better like taking a step back and like realizing, oh, I don't really need to be mad. Like, yeah, it makes me upset, but there's no point in me going off the deep end about this one thing that really is not in my power, and I'm just mad because it goes against something that I kind of believe or like I don't see as right. And so like stuff like that, you just kind of got to understand that like some stuff just isn't worth fighting for or being angry about.
I mean, and what do you gain from winning an argument like that?
Yeah.
I mean, the odds are your opinion isn't going to change, and theirs probably isn't either.
Yeah.
So why don't you just let it go?
You're just arguing, being mad for no reason,
and
then you guys figure it out like 2 days later. But still, there's like no reason of at that moment like possibly tarnishing whatever relationship you have with that person.
Yeah, and I can't blame. We can't really blame people.
No.
If you look at the media, man, it's like just kind of what's being promoted these days.
Yeah.
But it's like, I can blame you after listening to this if you're still like that for real.
Yeah.
Because like once you hear something like this and once you realize the true meaning of life, I guess I don't even know if I know the true meaning of life, but
I don't know if
like,
anyone does.
No one truly knows the true meaning of life. But I'm just saying, like once you see what's really important, once you see that, kind of like we were saying, you winning that argument is not going to benefit anything, but you promoting love and spreading positivity, that will benefit a lot. And that once you realize that, I mean, you gotta change the way you live for real. I know that I've changed the way I've lived a lot, and it's just very important to just. Another thing I just want to say before, we're getting kind of long here. It's important to appreciate what you have rather than always striving to worry about what you don't. Thinking about, oh, I want to get this, always trying to gain. Like, how about you or me in the situation? Take a step back and just appreciate what you have, because just looking at something like this, like after hearing your story, it makes me just want to call my dad and like be like, I'm so thankful. Like truly, I encourage everyone watching to do something like that. Like call those who you love and just tell them how thankful you are, because life can change. I mean,
yeah, or just have a conversation. Like,
yeah,
doesn't even have to, like, if it's your best friend, like call them up right now and be like, hey, appreciate you, like, you want to hang out, something like that, just realize that like the people around you, if they're still around you, if they have been for a while, they're here for you. And it's really important, because you should be there for them as well. If they're gonna ride for you, you might as well ride for them.
I think those are the most important conversations and things about life, is just reaching out, spreading love, keeping people that you love updated, and just engaging with the people that you truly care about. Because like we said, man, I was at school when I found out. Last thing I ever expected to hear that day was to hear that my best friend committed suicide the night before. That was the last thing I ever expected. And same thing for you, like with your dad. Like that was you couldn't have put money down and guessed anything else would have happened. Like there was 0% chance that would have happened. But I don't know, man. It's very important to appreciate what you have. And I think that's the big takeaway I have from these stories. What would be your big takeaway before we end this off? Like, what's your big takeaway with the stories and just everything we've talked about today?
Man, I want to say, like...
Tough question.
Yeah. What we said towards the end, talking about, like, forgetting differences. That's a big thing, like, especially now, like you said, with social media, whatever is going on. Like, I feel like everything's just trying to be put out to where we pin each other against each other. So, and it's like, I always see that, and like I don't really like keep up with media like that. I just like big events, stuff like that. I have like resources where like I know like I can get actual facts, but like daily news, like the whole Pete Davidson and Kanye thing, like seeing stuff like that, like literally like you go to the comments of those posts and it's people fighting over like these celebrity figures. It's like why? Like just because you support one person doesn't mean you should be bashing each other in the comments. And I don't really like how our world's going towards that. But I mean, like we talked about, you can always there's ways around it. Like we said, not every fight is worth fighting, especially if it's between two celebrities that have no idea who you are.
Literally, man. Literally,
but still, like the difference between me and Foster or me and Tigre who's behind the camera, like that should not affect our friendship at all, just because we believe or see two different things, like completely two different ways. I think that's what I took away. What about you? What did you take away?
That's it from this conversation. I mean, as always, I always just think about appreciation. Just hearing your story, bro. Damn, I don't even know what to say. Like, it was, I low-key was tearing up a little bit. I was like, oh, gosh.
I know, I got a little shaky in the middle. I was like, dang, a lot of people might hear this. And
I was like,
oh, I've never, like, actively talked to this many people.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people actually know my story. So, like, hearing, like, knowing a lot of people that I might not even know, like, are gonna like see my story and it could affect them. That's kind of like a weird thing to think about in the back of your head, and I'm sure you're kind of used to it now because it's gonna be 3 seasons in, so you're like and like in my words I feel like hardly ever like carry meaning like this, and so like it's kind of weird to see.
Well, I just appreciate you coming on, bro, and being
appreciate
vulnerable.
You having me. It's been
bro.
fun. I like talking like this. It's been fun.
It was dope for sure. I just, before we end it off, one more thing. Is there any like last message that you haven't talked about? There might not be, but any last thing you just want to say to whoever's watching?
Love each other. I want to say love each other. Big thing, like for me, I'm not a person to like express love like very often to people that aren't like close family, and I think it's good for other people to know like I love you, bro. Like, I love whoever's watching this. Thank you for supporting me, or whoever's there for me. Whoever's watching this, shout out to you for watching and supporting Foster, because this is a great platform to like get people stories out there that might not be able to share it, or like could connect to someone that is watching this. So just say you love someone, like go tell someone right now that you love them, because they could need it.
Back the challenges.
They could need it, and you never know. And it's good to let people know that like, hey, I'm here for you, I'm riding with you. Like that's just something really important.
Facts. I kind of got away from the challenges this season, but we're bringing it back. Go tell somebody that you love them, man.
Go tell someone you love them.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, hey, just to anybody watching, if you have a story and you really would love to get on here and share it, I'm totally open to letting people on. I think that's kind of the direction that we're gonna turn to for the future of the Underwater FlyZone. I'll still have my solo episodes, but just stuff like this, man. If you want to be sitting right here with the mic, this cheap little mic, and making an episode out of it, reach out to me, man. And also, if you feel alone or feel like you need to reach out to anybody, you got me. You got the Underwater FlyZone.podcast Instagram. Hit the DMs. I will respond. I'm sure Adam will respond too. You'll see him up on there.
Yep, for sure.
I mean, appreciate everybody watching. Stick around next week for episode 4, and I don't know, bro. It was a good one for sure. It was
also, shout out Tie-Dye behind the camera and lighting. Goated guy. Follow him on Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, Instagram.
Hey, y'all,
he makes fire music.
You'll be seeing him real soon up on here. I think we're planning something, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, love all you guys. Adam, I'm sure I'll see you again someday.
For sure.
Yeah, all right.
Peace out.
Bro. That was fire.
Good.
That was fire.
I like it. I appreciate it.
Let's go.
That was fun.
That was. Woo.